Let's see how an extension can be used to add a workstation to an existing structure, minimizing the total number of legs. The extension frame has leg plugs at one end only. The other end has two connectors without leg plugs. These support the top, but don't have legs fitted to them. Also fitted at this end are two frame clamps. These are used to link the extension to the adjacent frame. The red tamper seals should always face upwards, and for safety reasons, these should never be removed from the frame. To add an extension frame to an existing structure, first fit the legs into the leg plugs as explained earlier. Lift the other end of the frame. Open the white levers in the clamps and hook them onto the adjacent beam. You can now push the levers towards the freestanding structure to lock the clamps in place. Remember, to ensure safety, it's important that all clamps are securely locked and checked before use. A return is similar to an extension and uses the same clamps. But this frame attaches to the center beam of a freestanding structure rather than the end beam. As we've seen before, lift the frame at one end and fit the legs. Lift the other end and open the clamps. These should now be hooked onto the center beam of the structure near one end. Position the frame so the connectors on the return frame align with the end beam connectors on the primary structure. Push the levers on the return towards the primary structure until you hear a click and a firm engagement. These connectors are fitted with red tamper seals. These should be visible and should not be removed for any reason. A double return is similar to a single return but spans two tops. It attaches in the same way as the single return, but onto two primary structures. And it's possible to build it both with or without a screen. To build a double return with a screen, the primary structures must both be freestanding. To set the correct distance between the frames, use the white spacers. The long axis of the spacer will give the correct separation. Attach the frame in the same way as the single return. As you might expect, it's important to align the central connectors on the double return with those on the ends of the primary structures. You can now fit the appropriate brackets to support the screen on the secondary axis, as we've seen before. And finally, add the screen and tops. To build a double return without a screen, it's possible for one of the primary structures to be an extension. However, if you're using two freestanding structures, use the short axis of the white spacer for the correct separation. The return frame should be located centrally, but the exact position isn't critical. Finally, add a single top to complete the assembly. As we've been seeing, the principles for constructing any configuration of Sense are very similar, and the same applies to our next two. A meeting end is very similar to an extension but smaller. It attaches to a double workstation and is fitted in exactly the same way as an extension. As before, hook the clamps onto the freestanding structure and secure them before fitting the top. A satellite is a round meeting table that's attached to a freestanding frame and pivots from the connection point on the main structure. Start by fitting the two angled legs. Then lift the entire frame and lower the top hook of the clamp onto the beam. As usual, push the levers and slide the buttons down to secure. The satellite can be fitted at any point along the beam, so it's very flexible. But it's important to position it so it doesn't touch other parts of the structure, as this could cause damage when it's rotated.